What's up? What's up? What's up, Know It All world? You are in tune to the Know It All podcast. Of course, you got myself, Mod, Big G's on the way, and Tate. What's up, Tate, man? How you doing?
What's up, Mod, man? It's been a good week, man. You know, just here ready to get on here and have another talk with you and Big G, man, and our guest today.
Man, I'm going to tell you something. I'm so excited because I get to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart. You see it. It's right behind me. And we got a special guest who's going to help us talk about some of the two of the most storied franchises. But before we get into that, let's get into this. And world, we are back at it again. And of course, we have a special guest here with us today on the Know It All podcast. We got your man, Brian Anthony Davis, aka Bad from Behind the Steel Curtain. How you doing, man? How you doing today?
I am fantastic, gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me on the Know It Alls. I love it. I'm a big fan of the show.
Man, I appreciate you for coming. And definitely, you're here to talk about something that's near and dear to your heart too, as well, the Pittsburgh Steelers. With football season looming and coming as fast as we can get it. I mean, I want more. I've watched preseason game after preseason game. So yeah, we're definitely going to talk about the Steelers. We're going to talk about the Cowboys. And getting started, man, I just like, give us a little bio, man, behind Brian Anthony Davis. Tell us what he does and what he's doing. And then actually, you know what? You do it, Brian. You're here. You do it.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thanks, fellas. I am a longtime Steeler fan. I grew up in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. So when you grow up in Johnstown, what you are a Steeler fan, especially when you're growing up in the 1970s. And it's either Steelers or Cowboys, and that's what everybody's talking about. So I was growing up with black and gold in my veins. My parents in 1979 going to 1980 found out that they had an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl, and that would be if the Steelers would beat the Houston Oilers the next day in the AFC Championship game. I wanted them to take me, and so we had an opportunity. They did not. They went to the Super Bowl 14, and just about 2 years ago, my parents, my dad, I took him to an autograph signing, and we met Terry Bradshaw. And Terry Bradshaw was there, and he was really cordial. He was signing the helmet that I had. Then my dad comes by and just leans in and says, hey, I was at Super Bowl 14. And Terry Bradshaw looks up and goes, man, that was a tough one. We won, but that was a tough one. And I threw in, and my dad and I joke about this all the time. And I said, yeah, I'm still mad at him. He wouldn't take me. And he goes, why wouldn't he take you? And I said, well, I was 8, and he decided to take my mom instead. And Terry Bradshaw looks at me dead in the face and says, hell, son, I wouldn't have taken you either. and so I said, yeah, I'm still a little upset. And he looks at me and Terry Bradshaw looks at me, and I'm in my 40s at the time. And he looks at me and says, son, just be glad that you got him. And I'm like, wow, I just got son advice from Terry Bradshaw. And
wow. So, yeah.
And that's something my dad and I always joke about. The game, not going to go to that game. So one of these days, my goal is to be able to take my dad to the Super Bowl. So that's what I'm hoping for, and I'm really hoping I get to take him. We'll leave mom home, but
wow,
dad and I will go to the game.
Man, you got to leave that in the past, man. You got to leave that in the past, man. You got to let it go.
I'll take mom too. That's no problem. You know what? I got into radio right after college. I went to the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown, and then I was at a top 40 radio station. And then I got out of that and was into sales, but I always wanted to wanted to talk Steelers, and that was my passion. I worked for a newspaper in sales, and they let me do a column. And then just a couple years ago, I met up at the at the elementary school where my daughter went to school with a boy named Will, and they were kindergartners. And I met Jeff Hartman, the senior editor at BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, and we were talking, and he said, so he knew I was a Steeler fan, and we're there, watching the kids play. And he said, how do you think the Steelers are going to do this year? I said, well, and this is June, mind you. So, and I said, well, I read an article this morning about Lawrence Timmons. I'm really excited about him. And he turns to me and says, I actually wrote that article. I'm like, what?
Wow.
Six days later, my first article appeared. Then I became the podcast producer last year. And we have 25 original shows a week coming up on BehindTheSteelCurtain.com with the new fall lineup.
Wow. That's dope. That's awesome. That's awesome. So talking all about Steelers. And so that's just our perfect segue to actually get into this whole thing. Man, of course, we played in the Hall of Fame game. The Cowboys and the Steelers played in the Hall of Fame game. What did you actually think about that game? Give me some takeaways that you thought and that you saw about that game with the Steelers. I'll do so with the Cowboys. But and let's not even say y'all played two preseason games, correct, right?
Yeah. So preseason game number 2 was yesterday against, not yesterday, was Thursday against the Philadelphia Eagles. So we took care of them for you, Mon. I mean, that's no problem. And,
they are
we got you.
They are little brothers.
So, they're a Pennsylvania rival for us, too. So it's the Pennsylvania State Championship. But really, what we're looking at here in that game, that is an advantage for whoever has that game this year. Because with only 4 preseason games for the Steelers and Cowboys and only 3 for the other 2, man, they get a jump on everybody else. And it really showed in that Philadelphia game for the Steelers. So it was all about getting the young guys and getting the guys that are fighting for spots, getting them some play. Now, they were not playing the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys were not playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. They were playing themselves. I mean, like Mike Tomlin will say, the other side is, gray, faceless players, because they're not talking about. I mean, it's not about the Cowboys, because that's not the true Cowboy team. We didn't see Dak. We didn't see Zeke. They
Michael Gallup out.
Yep.
Lawrence, DeMarcus Lawrence out.
And you're not going to see those guys. And on our side, you didn't see TJ and Ben and Cam and Minka. So, that's going to happen. But what really did shine bright for the Steelers there was the fact that you got to see some young players really, really make a statement. And some of those guys, Jameer Jones is one of them, number 44 linebacker, that is probably going to nab a spot. And then you have a guy like Alex Highsmith, who is expected to take over for Bud Dupree. And what does he do? He's just all over the place. So he showed that that he is the man in waiting, and he can be the next guy. I was telling some people he reminded me of a young LaMarr Woodley in there. He was fast and getting to the quarterback.
That's a good comparison. I like that. And definitely we've had Big G join us, and Big G's here with us now. Big G, we're on with Brian Anthony Davis from Behind the Steel Curtain, of course. Big G, the third member of the broadcast. Say what's up to the world, man.
Hey, what's up, world, and good evening. Brian, I apologize. Technical difficulties. I'm in the middle of nowhere in Ohio, and internet has been acting crazy. So I'm just honored and thankful for you allowing us for you being on our show, man.
Well, no problem. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on there. Whether I'm talking to a Steeler and an OSU fan, or a Cowboy and a Texas Longhorn fan, or my buddy Tate, who I've done shows with. I mean, it's great to be on, and it's a pleasure because I've had a chance to watch your show over the past 6 weeks or so, and I think it's fantastic.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I appreciate you for that comment. Definitely wanted to kind of segue and talk about, before we segue into, just about the teams. One of the things that I saw and I really liked about Pittsburgh this year is depth, and you hit it. You know what I'm saying? You guys are going to have some depth and some key positions that I think is going to keep you guys around through the playoffs for a long time. And I like that. I like that. Now, the key to me, I think, is going to be Big Ben. Of course, we didn't see him. We saw a couple of younger players in the Cowboy game with you guys do some great things, and I'll hit on them a little bit later. Of course, we didn't see CeeDee Lamb in that game with you guys as well. You know, we saw just a little bit of him against Arizona. But I did want to say, you know, with Tate and Big G both being Steeler fans, this is something that we've talked about on consistent basis, man. Like, you know, really, this is a team, Steelers can really do some great things, or they can just really stink it up. It's going to be one of the two, but I really lean towards the great things because I feel like they're going to have a running game this year. So talking about the Steelers in camp, and they're coming out of camp and starting the whole preseason gauntlet, who's a person that you've been really surprised with, you know, in the offseason, and who's looked really good for the Steelers?
Well, I got to tell you, and it's coming from the offensive line. That's where a lot of the turnover was. My gosh, you've lost 3 guys that had Pro Bowl experience. Yeah, I mean, Marquise Pouncey is gone to retirement. You have David DeCastro, who would have not played this year. And so that was because he was hurt. So he's gone, and Big Al Villanueva, who right now, you know, the reports are that he's struggling in Baltimore. I'm not sure, but replacing those guys, still, that was not a horrible offensive line last year. No, you're going to hear that it was, but it wasn't a horrible offensive line. But who has really surprised me, a couple of guys filling in that we did not expect to hear anything from, and it's been Joe Haeg, late of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, he's famous for dropping that pass from Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. But, hey, he still got his ring, so that's fine. And then, you know, Rashard Coward, coming from the Chicago Bears. These guys, when they signed free agent contracts to come to the Pittsburgh Steelers, there was no hoopla, there was no ballyhoo, nobody was celebrating. They're like, okay, great. But if you know who these guys are, and I talked to somebody from Chicago, and they were like, you know what? Getting Coward is not a bad thing. The guy is one of those guys in the trenches that is going to get, you know, mud all over his uniform, and he's going to fight. He's a fighter. And that's what I'm hearing about Haig as well. You know, I don't know if you subscribe to the idea that Pro Football Focus knows what they're talking about, but so far they're getting pretty grades. Yeah, they're getting pretty good grades. You could go either. You're right, Mod. You could go either way with them, but the grades are pretty good. I think you're going to see more and more out of that offensive line, and the reason you're going to see more out of it is because of Adrian Clem. Great hire by promoting him up as the assistant line coach. He brings a nastiness. He brings a baller mentality, and I'm really excited about what Clem is going to convince these guys that they are. Yeah. So if that offensive line is at least productive enough, you're in good shape. Because if we can go back in history, let's go back in the black and gold DeLorean and go back to 2008. That's a Super Bowl champion team with a terrible offensive line.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So definitely, Tate, you had something that you were wanting to ask Brian. Go ahead.
I didn't necessarily have a question. Like Brian said, we've done some shows before, and I guess just from a Steeler fan perspective, just like, I mean, and he actually hit the nail on the head. The key to this season for us, and you said it too, Ma, we have talent everywhere, is I wouldn't think how the offensive line, I think we have good young players on the offensive line. We got younger. I think the key is how they coalesce and how soon they come together to be able to work together in unison as an offensive line unit. I mean, the guys he named it goes back to Haig and Coward. They're quality depth. You know, I don't think either one of those guys will start, but they're professionals. They've been around a while. Like he said, Haig has a Super Bowl ring. Coward has started like 15 games, I believe, in his career between Chicago. He started in Minnesota, I think, in their practice squad. But I mean, those guys are depth, and if we get what we need from the young offensive line, Pittsburgh can have a really good season.
I like that. What do you think, G? Your take?
Well, yeah, I agree with everything that Mr. Davis was stating about the Steelers. But, you know, I had a question. you know, a lot of times when you have depth, that creates a dilemma as far as a 53-man roster is concerned. And I think right now we have some serious questions to ask, not just like at the offensive line or defensive line positions, but at some of those skill spots. You know, I mean, we have four depth quarterbacks that really could make any NFL roster, and definitely 4 running backs. You know, and I'm very interested in your take with the whole Jalen Samuels, Anthony McFarland, Benny Snell. Like, who's going to be 1B or 2B as far as running back for the Steelers?
Well, I'm thinking right now that it's one guy that you have not named, and it's Kalen Ballage. I think Ballage and McFarland are probably going to be your backups to, of course, Najee Harris. I think Benny Snell, we're going to see what's going to happen with him. He got a chance to practice yesterday. So did Kalen Ballage. They were both back. They were on the practice field. I don't know to what extent, but it's nice to see them both in there. I think Jalen Samuels, he had a pretty decent game against Philadelphia, a terrible game against Dallas. But you also have to remember he had a terrible game in the third and fourth quarter and a terrible game and a good game in the third and fourth quarter, which in the preseason, that's just a lot of inconsistency. So I think he's a guy that is probably going to be on another team come September 12th. I would probably expect that. My guess is, you mentioned quarterbacks and you mentioned the running back position. There's something that you've got to look at here, and it all stems from the Joe Schobert trade that just happened.
Yeah.
And they gave up a 6th round pick for Joe Schobert. Now, go back to last year on October 30th when they traded for Avery Williamson. They gave up a 5th and received a 7th back. So that's not bad. And that's not a dud of a trade. They needed that linebacker last year. I have no problem giving away what you got. I have no problem with the fact that he's not on the roster right now because he was a free agent. They just declined to bring him back. I guess he didn't fit what they were looking at. But that's really hard to come in on Halloween and make a big impact on the roster, because we've seen this with guys like Ryan Switzer and even Vance McDonald when they first got traded right before the last preseason game. It's tough for them to get acclimated.
Right.
So,
heck, Brian, when you get traded to any team and they have a complicated playbook, look at Cam Newton. I mean, it took him a whole year to even try to halfway get comfortable at the Patriots. So when you get traded mid-season, you know, that's why I take my hat off to people like Amari Cooper and see if you weren't here, if you wasn't here,
no, he came in well.
Yeah, if you wasn't here, they'd be saying I was being a homer. But I take my hat off to Amari Cooper.
We're talking about the Cowboys and Steelers today.
You know, I'm just saying. You know, he came in mid-season and just thought he hit the ground running. That's a lot. That's a lot. You really have to either be adept to the coaching situation. You have to be, you know, one of these coaches' guys, or you have to know and be familiar with a playbook. And, you know, hey, unfortunately in the NFL, you know, it's not for long. Tate said that not too long ago. So you got to kind of, you know, hop into things and hit the ground running.
So let me bad. So we talked about, well, I think we're loaded now in the inside linebacker room. So how do you think that shakes out? Who do you think will be the odd man out in that room?
And I am going to answer that. I do need to go back why I went off on that tangent. And the reason being, I think they're going to, with also giving away their 4th round pick in the Isaiah Loudermilk deal on draft day, it looks like they are going to have to replenish some of those spots. So I expect a quarterback to be traded around week 1 of the season. And I expect Benny Snell Jr., if he is healthy enough, to go for maybe a 7th round pick or a 6th round pick. I can see now. Don't think I'm crazy here, but something happened in 2019, right before Ben Roethlisberger got hurt. Nick Foles got hurt in Jacksonville. Week 1.
Josh Dobbs got traded,
and Joshua Dobbs got traded for a 5th round pick.
Yeah, he did.
Man, and they did something smart. They kind of figured it out. They knew that they could leave Duck Hodges unprotected, and that's what they did. And they had Joshua Dobbs because they knew he had some value.
Right.
And they knew they could probably move a guy like that. So I could actually see this time around a guy like Josh Dobbs being dangled and you keep Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins while you're shopping them. That could be a possibility.
But question, Brian, Mason Rudolph, honestly, are we high on this guy?
High enough to keep him around for another year, because if you saw week 17, and granted, in 19, nobody was high on Joshua Dobbs.
Yeah.
When he was traded for a 5th round pick. But it's what another team needs. And if you've got a guy that could go to another team, and think about this. If you're high enough on Dwayne Haskins to be number 2, then you turn around and say, all right, we can go ahead and shop him. You can get a 6th round pick out of a Mason Rudolph with his experience or more.
Yeah.
And if you do that, that's fine. He has 1 more year on his deal. That's not a bad way to go. Now, if Ben goes down, it's going to be interesting. And I can't tell you who's going to be the quarterback if Ben goes down. It just depends what happens. I still think Mason Rudolph probably has the inside track.
Hey, I listened to the Friday Night 6-Pack with Tony the other night, and I kind of like this theory on if Ben goes down short term, a game or 2, Mason Rudolph comes in. But if something happened to Ben, unforeseenly, and he was out for 8, 9, 10, 12 games, then Haskins would probably be the one they would call up, because Mason Rudolph is probably a career backup. That's what he seems like to me. I think he's solid. I think he can come in and run the team's playbook and get you out of a stadium with a W. But I just don't know if he's that guy that'll go every week.
Absolutely.
Here's the thing I say about that, and I'm gonna let Brian say something after this. I just don't, watching him against the Cowboys and watching him, fill in for Ben. He seems jittery. He seems the same way that Garrett Gilbert, and we're going to talk about him in a minute. They make the errant throws, the short throws, the dink and Dobbs, cool. But when they have to go down the field, they're going to make that one mistake that's going to count. It's going to cost you. It's going to cost you. And that's how I see Mason. I see him as a liability. I definitely don't see him as a plus. And I would really like to see Haskins get that job over Mason. Just my thought process. But you go ahead, Brian. Oh, and also, go Cowboys. Thank you, New York one. I appreciate you.
I no problem with the Go Cowboys as long as it's not the Eagles. So there we go. I'm a Pennsylvania guy. The 70s were a long time ago, and I'm just getting over 1995. So we are okay.
Wow.
That's no problem. But there's also that little thing called scoreboard. And, you got to understand, I'm a Penguins fan, and I live in Maryland, and I've got to deal with Capitals fans all the time. And all I say is, hey, 5 is greater than 1. So the Cowboys, I'll still say 2 is greater than 1. So that's all I got.
It is. I'm not.
Hey, it's all about the rafter and the scoreboard.
There you
rafters,
go.
Look at the scoreboard. That'll tell you the story.
But Mason Rudolph. Let's go back to Mason Rudolph. You're really that high enough on him. Tate calls him a career backup. We know G doesn't really like him as y'all's backup. But talk to me. What, you're really that high on Mason Rudolph?
High enough that if Ben gets hurt, he's fine. Just like Tate said, he was absolutely correct. He's good enough to fill in for a couple of games. And really, he did a pretty good job of keeping this franchise alive in 2019. I know he got benched.
Was that him or was that the defense though? Let's hone that out. Did the defense win games for him, or did he win games?
Well, I got to tell you what, and Mason Rudolph is one of the reasons that I am called Mr. 2 a.m. And the reason being is, if you don't know the story behind 2 a.m., the Steelers in 2019 were a team that won ugly. And it's like you're at the bar at 2 a.m. way back in the 90s back in the day, and you're looking over and your friends have all left and they're with somebody else, and you're there, and you look over and you see somebody that, well, why not? And you know what? You're definitely not going to write home about it. You're not going to put it in your Christmas card, but you're going to take advantage and call it a victory. And that's what they did. The Steelers played 2 a.m. football in 2019, and Mason was a part of it. defense wins championships. We know that. Gosh, we saw the Baltimore Ravens win with Trent Dilfer, but he still had to do enough for them to win back then.
Right.
Is Mason Rudolph going to be the Steelers quarterback, starting quarterback as an option when Ben retires? Most likely no. But we're not looking for Mr. Right. We're looking for Mr. Right now.
Right.
And sometimes you got to have Mr. Right now as a quarterback. And I'll take Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins over anybody else that you can get off the free. You can't get anybody off the free agent wire that's better.
Best quarterback depth in the league.
For
room, best in the league.
Yeah. So, you'll take it. I mean, you are not going to have, and I say this all the time because Steeler fans are spoiled. And Tate will tell you this, Big G will tell you this. Steeler fans want 53 superstars on their roster.
Right.
And that doesn't work.
Right.
What do you think Cowboy fans want on their roster?
They want 73 superstars on the 50-man roster.
We understand it. We want everybody going to the Pro Bowl on our roster. We want them all. It is
hey, Mod, I'm really surprised. No love for Mason Rudolph. Seeing how he from Big 12 country though. Listen,
we don't like the whole state of Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma State, we don't really. Yeah, they're like just our little brothers like the Eagles. We absolutely hate Oklahoma. And nothing good comes from Oklahoma. Just like I absolutely hate the Giants. I want all the bad things in life to happen to the Giants and only the Giants. I mean, that is what it is as a Cowboy fan and a Texas Longhorn fan. So Mason Rudolph, he doesn't really get that type of hate. He just, to me, he is not. I see more electricity in Josh Dobbs than I do Mason Rudolph.
Well, I think that's the difference between the two. I mean, I think Mason Rudolph is a better pocket quarterback than Josh Dobbs. But when things break down, that's when Mason becomes really rattled, and he can't compensate for his lack. I don't even say he's not athletic, but he can't compensate for his lack of crumbling under pressure. Like he doesn't get out there. He kind of gets real nervous in the pocket all the time, and when pressure's on him is when Mason folds. I think with Josh Dobbs, he's not as good a pocket passer, but he can move the offense because when things break down, he can use his legs, and that's another option. And that's the direction the NFL was going in. You have to have a quarterback with at least some type of mobility. You don't have to be Lamar Jackson or any of those guys or Kyler Murray or any of those guys, but you have to have the ability to be able just to step up in the pocket and move or roll out and even pick up 5 or 6 yards if necessary. Mason has shown no ability to do that thus far.
And that's a good point, because this is my next transition before we start talking Cowboys. Roethlisberger, he was a statue last year. He was a plain out statue. He was the Statue of Liberty.
He's probably 39 years old.
Brian, can you tell me where do you think, with the weight loss and everything, where do you expect Berger to be this year, man? How do you, what kind of vibes are you getting out of Roethlisberger right now?
You know what? I get a guy that's hungry right now. I get a guy that wants to prove, you know what he wants badly? He has every single stat quarterback in Pittsburgh Steeler history, every single stat possible. He's the leader, except for one, and it's a big one. And it's rings. 4 against 2. It's Terry Bradshaw. So everyone is saying, oh, Ben will get a ring and he'll go, he'll retire. No way. If he gets ring number 3, he's coming back for ring number 4. I know he's good. Terry and Ben are good now. They've mended fences. They weren't always good, but he wants that record, and you would think that Ben Roethlisberger is the guy that everyone talks about. They put some dead years on his contract. They can get rid of him at any time. He is your college buddy. All right. Yeah. He is the guy that is going to show up and say, hey, can I hang out here at your crib for a while? Next thing you know, he's wearing a robe. He's eating cereal out of the giant salad bowl. He's ripping through your Netflix account, and he's hitting on your, and he's saying, "Hey, baby," to your wife. And that's Ben. He's not going away until you kick him out. If you give Ben another window, he's not going away because he is going to play until you say, Ben, you're done, and that's it. And he has a lot to prove. He lost some weight. Ben can still throw the ball. everybody, here's what I loved. When people want to talk about his arm strength, and Ravens fans and Browns fans want to talk about how he has no arm strength, Tate, Big G will tell you, what was his biggest problem last year? He was overthrowing receivers.
Exactly.
It wasn't arm strength. So, Ben could definitely do that, get that done. So I'm feeling pretty good about what Ben can do. Now, Tate asked me a question earlier, and I went back to what I was talking about. I just wanted to answer that real quick. I apologize. I jump around. I think I have some.
No, you're fine.
I've Steeler hypocycloid ADHD, so I'm all over the place. But here's the thing with that linebacker room now. Oh my gosh, it's tremendous. You bring in Joe Schobert. The thing about Schobert is, my gosh, you paid nothing for him.
Consummate pro.
Yeah, because $3.65 million is what the Jaguars are going to pay now out of his contract.
Right.
And so you're getting him for hardly anything. You gave away a 6th round pick. He goes up. He plays the run well. He's a tackling machine. He has more interceptions than he does sacks. You don't want that. You don't need that guy to be sacking the quarterback. You need that guy to be great in coverage, and that's what he does. He's good in coverage. Now you get to throw Robert Spillane back in as your backup for depth. You have some other depth there. And now look at the linebackers. You have 5 outside linebackers on that team that are fighting for maybe 4 spots, maybe 5, because Jameer Jones from Notre Dame is the real thing. Quincy Roche was a steal in the 6th round. And now you've got number 8. I love having a big linebacker wearing number 8, and that's Melvin Ingram the third. You have that guy next to, rotating with TJ, because TJ gets winded, man. TJ gets winded
because he goes so hard.
Yeah. And so Highsmith will too. You can't have those guys going 4 straight quarters without rotating some guys in.
High motor guys,
Yeah. So you have 5 really good edge guys. So just like Aerosmith, they're living on the edge. So I love it.
Hey, we got one here saying that he's super high on Devin Bush and that he's a problem. Really like, I know my brother likes Devin Bush. I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm not, being that you got the big flag behind you, but go ahead.
Hey, but Devin Bush is an outstanding athlete. When we lost Shazier, I was heartbroken, man. But to have basically Shazier Part 2 and Devin Bush, or the potential to be a Ryan Shazier, I was happy as all get up when we traded up to get Devin and acquired Devin Bush in the draft. But Brian, I had another just quick question about Roethlisberger, man. And this is something that I picked up on in some of the articles and things that I've read. Big Ben's maturity as far as being a mentor with those young quarterbacks has changed tremendously over the last couple of years from what I've read. And now he's willing to put his arms around a guy like Dwayne Haskins and a guy like Josh Dobbs, where before he was like hard around the edges. He was like, get this backup quarterback guy out of here. He's not coming here to take my job. And I want you to speak to the maturity that you're hearing out of the camp of Ben, like mentoring these younger quarterbacks and bringing them along because he realized Father Time is undefeated.
Yeah, and that is a great way to put it. I could even go back to 10 years ago, and when something happened when the Steelers had to bring in a punter named Justin Kirpakis.
Yeah.
No, Jeremy Capanos. I'm sorry. I get those guys. They were both Penn State guys. They weren't punters. Kirpakis was from Penn State too, but Jeremy Capanos comes in, and he came in very late in the season. And the reason I'm bringing up a punter is because he was friends with Sean Sweezum, who was the place kicker at the time, that a lot of people don't know that he was brought in to battle Jeff Reed in 2005. And he told, and I had a buddy that knew Capanos from Penn State, that he would tailgate with him when he was out of football at Penn State. And when he got back in, they played the Jets in December. And my buddy says, "Hey, we're coming to the Steelers Jets game." He said, "Well, nobody knows me. I'll just meet you out in the parking lot." So met him out in the parking lot, and they were talking about things. And Sweezum said to him, "Ben is a completely different quarterback. He is all business. He's not the knucklehead that was here in the Super Bowl season of 2005 when I was first in camp. He's a guy that really understands the game and he's here to win, and he's here as a professional now. He's not that guy." Now, let's flash forward now, because just a couple years ago, he was saying, why are we drafting Mason Rudolph when we have Joshua Dobbs? He's very high and protective of Joshua Dobbs. When you notice on the sidelines, when he's on the sidelines, who's he talking to? He's talking to Joshua Dobbs.
Yeah.
Dobbs is a rocket scientist. I mean, he really is at the University of Tennessee.
Yeah.
He, I don't know whether it was a nuclear science degree, but this guy's really intelligent. He would be the perfect quarterback. He's the perfect quarterback brain. If I could put his head, if I could do like weird science as a quarterback, I would go ahead and take Joshua Dobbs' brain and I would put it in any other body. As far as, I mean, I would love to have his head in Roethlisberger's body. My gosh, I would put his head in Pat Mahomes' body. That's how football smart this guy is. And
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes is an amazing quarterback. Mm-hmm. But all I'm saying is that Ben relies on him, and he understands that he needs to. One of the reasons he came back was to come back to lead these guys that don't have a ring to a ring. That's the way he's talking now. I don't know whether it's PR, whether it's look, I'm going to play the selfless guy now, but he's a coach now. He's a coach looking for that legacy and that other ring. He knows if he can motivate these guys, that's going to lead to him getting closer to those 4 Super Bowls, or even 3. 3 makes him a no-brainer as a Hall of Famer. I think he's a Hall of Famer now. But we're talking legacy. The guy's about to get to number 7 on the all-time passing list, and number 5's not that far away either.
Right.
So
it's reachable.
He's going to get there, but he is the guy right now that now it's time to think about legacy. It's not thinking about new contracts. It's what have I done? What mark have I put on this league? Can I be one of the greatest of all time? And if he could sell the rest of the team on it and sell the world on it, he's going to be fine. Ben Roethlisberger is never going to be NFL MVP, but he could be a Super Bowl MVP. They will vote for him as a Super Bowl MVP. He could 45 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He could do that. They're still not going to make this guy an MVP. However, in the Super Bowl, it all changes.
It all changes. And so
I mean,
my last comment on the Steelers. Go ahead.
No, I just want to piggyback off that before you got started on your Cowboys. I just wanted to say that everything we've talked about and Bad knows it and Big G knows it. There's already been a blueprint for this, and it's a number 7 that won a couple Super Bowls back in the late 90s.
Yes,
he was an aging quarterback. He was a lot better younger than he was when he was older. He got a hell of a running back with Terrell Davis.
That's where I was going. That's where I was going. You took the words right out of my mouth. If they do anything, it's because of the running game. And to me, I think you got a heck of a running back. And this youngster from Alabama, Najee Harris, is the real deal. He's the real deal. So I 100% agree with you, bro. If this is, you were driving straight down the street, I was driving that. If he is to make it to his next 2 more Super Bowl rings, it will be because of that running game. Because it will. He makes great decisions, and if he can start doing play action on you, it's over with. It's a wrap.
I think he is now. He has to be willing to do play action. Ben for the past 7 or 8 years only wanted to be in a shotgun. So he has to be willing to.
You can play action on shotgun. In the running formations now, most of the runs are out of the gun. You know what I mean? You're not turning around in the eye anymore. Most of the runs are out of a gun. So, if I got a running back who's chewing up 3-4 yards every time I give him the ball, oh man, the passing, and you got a dog over there at wide receiver in Claypool. You got a monster. You know what I mean? He's the next great to me. Claypool is nasty. He's uncheckable at some point, So definitely, to me, the running game, Pittsburgh, that's it. That was my clothing shot on Pittsburgh. Go ahead, G. I know you had something to say.
Well, I agree with someone, but I like the changes that have been made with the offense, with bringing in a new offensive coordinator. But I'll challenge anybody in any room as far as 1 through 4 depth chart and wide receiver, as well as backup tight end and starting tight end. I would say I'd put my beloved Steelers roster up against anybody. So regardless if Najee Harris comes in and does, one of those outstanding things as a rookie, 1,200 to 1,400 yards rushing, maybe 200-300 yards receiving out of the backfield, I still say that Ben, with the threats on the outside between Deontay Johnson, James Washington, Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, Eric Ebron, and Baby Gronk. I mean, you can line up the Kansas City Chiefs. You can line up whoever. I'll say offensively, offensive weapon-wise, if our offensive line comes together and gels, I don't see anybody in the NFL defensively that's going to give us any problems. I just don't see it.
Woo. Hot take, Big G.
That was a hot take. I'm looking at Brian's face the whole time, and I see him like, yeah, okay.
Hey, I'm gonna jump on top of that and say I'm going Pulp Fiction and Vinny Vega and going, that's a bold statement.
Yeah, man. And so briefly, as I'm looking at the Cowboys roster, I mean, first and foremost, I'm looking over it and I like what I see. I like what I see a lot. Definitely I feel like, and I come from this world where, I'm around a whole bunch of Cowboy fans who are really just fans. They're not realistic in how they're looking at things, and they're fans. But this is the first time, and you guys, you could tell me, I especially want to hear what you have to say on this, Brian, because I've had this conversation with my guys. This is the most talent that Dak has had around him defensively at all. And that offense is pretty good too. What do you think about the defensive side of the ball for the Cowboys? What do you see? And I'll go ahead and elaborate a little.
Well, I think the defensive player of the year has been drafted to the Dallas Cowboys when I'm talking about all rookie.
Wow. Micah Parsons, man. I'm a Penn State guy. I root for Penn State. I root for Pitt. I even root for a little bit of West Virginia. I used to have season tickets. So I've been around all three of those in a big part of my life. And now I'm around Maryland. I have no problem with the Terps either. But I know Penn State well. And Micah, I mean, I think Najee was the steal of the draft on the offensive side of the ball. And I think Micah's the guy on defense that I would have taken over anybody. That's a guy that I would have loved to have seen gone to Pittsburgh, but that wasn't as big a need as what they really needed. They needed offensive line or they needed a running back. So they got what they needed. But I think that defense is what has been holding the Dallas Cowboys back. Do I know enough about the Dallas Cowboys to stick up for them in a fight? Probably not. But I could tell you what I've seen from them, and you're always going to see them on NBC on Sunday Night Football because they're always going to get a few games, just like the Steelers are always going to get a few games. We're America's team.
Oh, wait. No, you're not.
No.
Mod, you're my buddy already, and you came on one of our shows, so I appreciate you, but we got to talk about that. You know the story. The Sables. Sable and Steve Sable went to the Roonies in 1976 and said, gentlemen, we want to make the Pittsburgh Steelers America's team. They said, guys, no, we're Pittsburgh's team. We're not America's team. You can give it to somebody else. So I respect the Dallas Cowboys. I have no problem. I've got a buddy that named his son Dallas Landry. That's how much they.
Oh, wow.
Dallas Landry, definite name. I have a lot of respect for the Cowboys, but if you're okay with sloppy seconds, that's fine, Mon. But the true America's team is really in black and gold.
Listen, man. I have respect for the Steelers. I don't I don't have any hate and animosity in my heart at all. And I really, I send Neil O'Donnell a Christmas card every year. I appreciate him for what he did to us. He gave us a gift. But when I look at this year's defense, like I said, this is the most talent that Dak has had around, and I agree wholeheartedly. You hit the nail on the head, because when it comes down to it, we have not been able to stop anybody for years. And the first point of need for us was defensive tackle. And Neville Gallimore, he's going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks, but he actually came in and made the rest of these guys play. Osa has been balling. Tristan, we haven't got a chance, but Carlos Watkins has played really, really solid at defensive tackle for us, man. And we have a rookie on the side of the ball who played defensive end yesterday, and man, he showed out. Not yesterday, it was the day before when we played the Cardinals. Bradley Anae.
Bradley
Anae. He's Big Ten country, isn't he? He's from
New Mexico.
Utah. Yeah,
he's a guy, All-American linebacker at Utah, former All-American.
He was drafted in 2020, though.
Yeah, but he showed out, man. He showed out.
I think he led the nation in sacks when his senior year. I mean, he's not like he's a guy that can get it done.
And he's nasty.
Yeah, he is. I actually want the Steelers to draft him if we could have in 2020.
I had him in mock drafts to Pittsburgh in the second or third round. We were looking at really thought Bradley and I was going to be in Pittsburgh. So when I saw him go to Dallas, I'm like, they got a good one. And and I'm having trouble with Diggs, the kid from Alabama, and his brother Stephon, of course, and out of Maryland. I mean, because they're actually from Maryland, around this area. They played high school, maybe an hour from me. Good counsel. I'm not mistaken.
That's where they play.
So the Diggs kid at I believe is he a corner or is he safety? I know he's the corner.
He's corner. Trevon Diggs and Donovan Wilson have not played all preseason because their spots are locked. They're not, they're practicing, they're getting it in, their spots are locked. But and just mentioning that, I'm glad you mentioned that because the two stars of camp has been CeeDee Lamb and Trevon Diggs. They say Trevon is looking like an all-pro at corner right now. And definitely I could see that happen. But this is the narrative.
Hey, Ma,
go ahead.
I'm going to ask you a question about the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I feel like with the drafting of Micah Parsons, and you still got Jalen Smith, you still got Wolf Hunter, Van Der Esch. I mean, so how? And you guys run a 4-3, right?
4-3 and a 3-4. It's mixed. It's mixed. It's mixed a lot. Yes.
So how's that linebacker room shake out? Who's on the field to start games?
Man, Micah Parsons has stolen. He is the number one middle linebacker. That's his job. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? He's taking that from Jalen, but LVE is balling. LVE at this point is looking like I don't want to get off the field. So the odd man here out has been Jalen Smith, believe it or not. And Jalen Smith is a high motor guy, and definitely he's been the odd man out. But you're going to look at the 4-3 sets. You're going to have those three out on the field together, Leighton, Micah, and Jalen. But then you got people who have came in like Brent Urban and Keanu Neal and Jabril Cox are balling. Keanu's playing safety.
Jabril Cox is the rookie from LSU.
Oh, from LSU. Keanu's playing safety, but he's helping and he's nasty and he's physical and it looks like he's back. It looks like he's back. I mean, we took some risks. We shook the dice.
A strong safety?
Yeah, strong safety.
Play for the Falcons. Play for the Falcons.
Yes, absolutely.
So are him and Malik Hooker the starters?
Malik Hooker won't start. Malik Hooker will come in the game and get ticked, but he will not start. He definitely will not start. He's going to get ticked. He's cleared for practice, so he's going to start practicing. He missed all of the practices against the Rams and, of course, all of these other games. We haven't seen Malik yet, but I'm looking forward to see what he can do out on the field. I've been watching the practices. I've definitely been watching the preseason games. I've been watching the practices after the fact. They show them on YouTube, and I love it. I go back and I sit down and watch it. That's how much of a Cowboy fan I am. But at the same time, my point here is, and I'm glad you asked about the defense, because when we look at it, you got Randy Gregory, who's finally able to smoke weed, so he's going to be out there doing what he needs to do, Then on the other side, you have DeMarcus Lawrence. Then you have Carlos Watkins, and you have Tristan Hill, who will be back, right? He's just out with the ankle injury, but he'll be back for the start of the season. Then you have LVE, Jalen, and Micah, Trevon Diggs, Donovan Wilson, who has taken that safety position, and you're going to get a lot of Keanu and DeMonte KZ at free and strong. So, but right now we have KZ listed as that free, and I'll take it. And then on the other side, you have Anthony Brown. Anthony Brown has been consistent but he's being pressed by somebody who I like, Kelvin Joseph, but he had a bad game against Arizona.
What about the rapper cornerback?
That's Kelvin Joseph
from Kentucky.
Yes, that's Kelvin Joseph.
Yeah, that's a 6'4".
Well, who's the other guy that said he's another Richard Sherman, only more athletic?
That's a 6'4" cornerback.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm sitting up in here drawing a blank on his name. The guy, he has been trying to play good. He's been on the field, and we keeping him. But Stephen Parker's actually playing better than him right now. What's this guy's name?
I think it's Javon Curse. Ain't it Javon?
No, Curse. We picked him up.
Yeah, and he's the nephew of Javon Curse, the freak.
Mm-hmm.
That Curse played for. I forgot who he played for in college.
I'll think of his name in a minute. It's not Robinson. It's right here on the tip of my tongue. But this the thing about him is like I said, he can guard. He can definitely guard. He can definitely guard. He can definitely play defensive back. I just think he's a year away. You know, I think he's long, he's rangy, but he's a year away. But Kelvin Joseph, he's the one. He's the one. Darian Thompson, I think, is probably going to get cut because Malik Hooker will take that spot. Jordan Lewis, C.J. Goodwin, they're all still back there, and they're still great ones.
So
we have a question from Juan. Juan said one guy we're forgetting to talk about is Dan Quinn. Let's be real. He hasn't had a good defense since Seattle. He's the key. You know, Juan, I hear that. I hear that. I definitely get that. But do you think anybody's going to be as bad as they were last year? Honestly.
No.
Can you answer that question for me, Bad? Do you see any professional defense being as bad as the Cowboys were on defense last year?
Well, that was a rough team, and I really like what Dan Quinn can bring to this team and what he does. I mean, you know, he has a history of making it happen. He's fantastic. I really, you're right. They can't get worse, but this is a playoff team. If the defense can do what we think they can do, the guys that you moved in there. I mean, we talked about DeMarcus Lawrence. Of course, he's a champion on that side of the ball. Is he the captain in Dallas of the defense, or do they have a captain?
Jalen Smith was the captain.
Okay.
And, so he'll probably end up, we'll see if he's going to be that again, but it looks like he's going to start. So probably so.
They remind me a lot of the Steelers in the fact where the Steelers are loading up on the offensive side of the ball and trying to make some changes because that was what kept them from winning a championship last year. They also, the Cowboys, they're set on offense. They really are. They're in really good shape. If they can get that defense to what we think can happen there, I would be shocked if they don't win the division. In fact, I would put money on them to win that division. That's theirs if they go take it.
Yeah. And I agree. And Nashawn Wright is the person that you were talking about, Tate. Nashawn Wright is they quote him the next Richard Sherman. And now flip on the other side of the ball. I just wanted to get on the defensive side. I mean, for real, I forgot about like Luke Gifford, and we talked about Jabril Cox. These guys.
I got one question on one guy on defense. You guys got a cornerback from South Carolina, Israel Mahuka Mora or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, he's tough.
Yeah, he's tough. He's like 6'3", 6'4". He played opposite J.C. Horn.
He has an opportunity. He's going to be able. I mean, there's a lot of defensive backs to beat out, man. I just said it.
That's what I'm saying. So
you got Malik Hooker.
Is he a practice squad guy?
Huh?
Is he a practice squad guy?
Yeah.
He beat not last year, year before. He beat Georgia single-handedly by himself. He had a 3-interception game against Georgia.
But you're going to have to beat out Stephen Parker. You're going to have to beat out Jordan Lewis. You're going to have to beat out Jerron Curse. You're going to have to beat out Malik Hooker. You're going to have to beat out Darian Thompson. You're going to have to beat out Boss Man Fat. If you're not, which is Kelvin Joseph, that's the rapper. But you have to get this, man. If you're not beating these guys out, you practice team or special teams, you better hope they can keep you on the roster. And that's what I'm looking like. I mean, like I said, this is the deepest defensive backfield that we've had in a long time. I mean, and there are no Terrence Newmans. There are no what's the guy that went over to Miami, and I was really glad that he left. Everybody,
Kevin Jones. Jones
gave him up. Listen, I was glad because realistically, I thought he was all hype, and to me, it just was what it was. You know, say it again.
Go ahead, Big G.
Well, one of the things and this is just my spin, and so Brian knows this. I'm in a family full of Cowboy fans, not just my brother, my stepfather, all my stepbrothers, my son-in-law. I mean, these guys are diehard Cowboy fans, and I'm listening to a lot of them talk, and a lot of the talk is they're not so much worried about the defense. They're worried about the health of the team, and they're saying that if they can realistically stay healthy, they don't see themselves having any problems. And one of the big health questionnaires or circles around is not just Dak Prescott, but some of those offensive linemen. So, that's what a lot of people are speaking to now, because they love the shape that like Ezekiel Elliott is in. They love the shape that Amari Cooper looks like. They like how these guys physically, as far as their body looks, but they really have some health concerns with offensive linemen and with Dak. So, my question to Brian is, how do you think or feel as far as offensively, if Dallas will be able to perform if they catch a snagging or a nagging injury?
See, that's the thing. I mean, that team was, I know they lost a few games at the beginning of the season, and then when they lost Dak in week 4, it was over because they didn't have that guy to bring in. That's why, I mean, my question, we were talking about what happens if Ben goes down when we were talking about Pittsburgh. I mean, how confident are you in Mr. Gilbert coming in to take over? I mean, that could be a guy that you might actually see a Mason Rudolph in a blue, white, and silver over there. I mean, you might see them bring a guy in.
Right.
Listen, man.
He'd be an upgrade. He'd be an upgrade. Mason would be an upgrade.
I see them both the same. Like I said, when it comes down to now, I'm a Garrett Gilbert fan. I'm gonna tell you why, because
he went to Texas. Really, that's why.
And not only that, he should have beat Alabama himself if he had. But if was the fifth, everybody be drunk. But I'm saying literally that sack was just all it wrote. We had Alabama with 3 minutes left on the clock. We were driving the ball. He got hit from the back. He fumbled. There's the game, So I like Garrett. I want to see him do well. I'm rooting for him. But, when it comes down to it, like we just got, Gallup just started playing. And we're talking about the offensive side of the ball. And I'm going to get on this because the lineman, I definitely want to speak to what G was saying. But we just got Gallup back. He's overthrowing Gallup, putting him in bad positions, reaching over the middle. That's not something that your quarterback wants to do. You want to hit him in the numbers. You want to hit him in the hand. If you're leading him, you're not trying to lead him over the middle where he can get mollywopped by a safety. So, when it comes down to it, I agree, Brian. I agree wholeheartedly. But I really believe that Zeke is back. So, therefore, I don't believe that all the pressure is going to be back on Dak Prescott. And if we're talking about our offensive line staying healthy, Big G, that's why we've held Tyron Smith out. That's why we've held Connor out. Well, Connor played this last game, and they tried to put him at center, because of the simple fact that we needed depth in center, and that little project needs to go bye-bye. We'll never need to do that ever again in life. That's something that never needs to happen. But Tyler, I forget how you say his last name.
Badis from Wisconsin.
Yeah. Tyler Badis, he's a good fit. I think he's good. Definitely, I think Connor McGovern is going to be another guy down there at the line that's going to be good. Brandon Knight, he's going to be good. Jack Martin was held out, so we're really holding our linemen out, letting them get all the way healthy so that when we do start the season, we'll be ready. And I do believe that we'll go how that line goes, but when you're, it's easier for you to run block than pass block, especially in this NFL that we're in. So if we can get Zeke going early, Zeke or Tony Pollard going early, we're fine. Then the other thing you have to take note to is we have our tight ends back. People are talking about Blake Jarwin coming back, but Dalton Schultz he's been lights out, and CeeDee Lamb has been tearing opposing quarterback. I mean, what's the guy from the Rams?
Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey. He ate his lunch in practice all week. So you're taking an outside guy who could start at X receiver, and you're putting him in the slot against, lesser cornerbacks. So CeeDee Lamb, I look for CeeDee Lamb to have a great year this year. And even if you had to go with Garrett Gilbert, if he could just hit these guys, these intermediate passes, and we're talking about Blake Jarwin, we're talking about Dalton Schultz, we're talking about hitting Zeke out the backfield, we're talking about hitting CeeDee Lamb in the slot. Amari has lost a lot of weight, and he's ready. They say he looks really, really good. And his philosophy was, he watched Julio play at this weight, so he thought he should do it. So now he's saying there's no benefit to him, so he lost weight, and he came back into camp ready to go. So you're going to see a different offense than you've ever saw before out of the Cowboys. And I'm talking about different in the sense that it's more high potent. This is a contract year for Michael Gallup. So, of course, Michael Gallup's going to get up here and show out. And he always has throughout this whole time. And then you got CeeDee Lamb. And then, of course, you got Amari Cooper. So wide receiver were good. Tight end were good. Running back were good. And we just have to get good play out of our quarterback, which we know we're going to get solid play out of Dak, just if we can keep him healthy and upright.
Maud, if I was the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, and this might sound ridiculous, but I'm on the phone with the Chicago Bears, and what do I have to give you? Give me Nick Foles. I mean, Nick Foles would be a great put behind Dak Prescott. Something happens, Dak gets hurt. This guy's already proven that he could win a Super Bowl in the right scenario, in the right offense. And so when I was looking at quarterback 2 and quarterback 3s across the league, I mean, Nick Foles is a guy because I saw Justin Fields. I watched the preseason game, and it's just going to be a matter of time before Andy Dalton's pulled. So I really think that if Dallas wants to protect their vested interests, they got to invest in that backup quarterback to get it secure. Because if Dak goes down, there's your season. But Nick Foles, and maybe Brian can speak to this too, I really like Nick Foles as a backup quarterback, man. Any team that's got playoff and Super Bowl aspirations, if you don't have that number 2 quarterback position solved, you got to do something real fast. And I don't think that the Cowboys do right now with Gilbert.
You know what? I'm going to agree with that completely, but I'm going to talk about some guys that, I talked about this in 2019 with the Steelers. If the Steelers would have had Matt Moore on the team, Matt Moore, they probably go deep into the playoffs. There's guys that are fantastic backup quarterbacks. I would love to see backup quarterbacks go into the Hall of Fame because there are great backup quarterbacks. I mean, we've seen what Charlie Batch would do over 10 years in Pittsburgh. If Ben went down, you knew you had Charlie Batch or Byron Leftwich. You knew you had a guy like that. When Ben goes down now, you don't have that. You saw that in Dallas last year. It wasn't Andy Dalton, but a guy like Nick Foles, I think, is probably, my gosh, I could say that he would be a Hall of Fame backup quarterback, just what he did in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Matt Moore, not a lot of people realize this, but he kept Kansas City afloat when Patrick Mahomes went down in 2019 for 3.5 games or so. And you have guys like that. Nobody's going to select Matt Moore in their fantasy draft. You're not putting Matt Moore on your Christmas card either. You're not celebrating this guy. You're not buying his jersey, but he's one of the best insurance policies. Nick Foles is like that.
Ain't bad. Full transparency, I watched a lot of the BTSC shows, and I happen to know your backup QB crush.
Oh, yes, you know him.
Case Keenum.
Love me Case Keenum. I'll tell you what. There's not many man crushes that I have. I mean, I could count on one hand my man crushes: Tom Selleck, Case Keenum, Casey Kasem, and that's probably about it. And I say that to quote George Costanza from Seinfeld. I say that with a staunch record of heterosexuality, but I can say this: that those are my guys, and Case Keenum's one of them.
I'm familiar with Case. He's a Texas kid. Played his college ball in Houston. I mean, he's been a journeyman. He's been okay. So what is it about Case that has you like, oh man crushed out? Tell me about that.
If Case Keenum, well, look what he did with the Vikings.
Yeah.
My gosh, back in what was that, 18 or 17?
17, I think.
It was in 17. What he did with the Vikings, I mean, everybody thought it was over, and they bring in Case Keenum. And I'm a guy that, I'm a guy that goes back in time to remember when Trent Green goes down in 1999 for the Los Angeles Rams. And everybody's like, well, it's over already. Then, hey, next thing you know, we're going to bring in this cast off from Green Bay. He was on the Iowa Barnstormers, and now Kurt Warner's in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I just love those backup Cinderella stories. And Case Keenum, with what he did against New Orleans in that game, my gosh, he crushed their soul with that. What was it? The Minnesota Miracle.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, and time I think of the Minnesota Miracle, I think of the Mighty Ducks, because Emilio Estevez, Coach Gordon Bombay, was the Minnesota Miracle man. But when I think about what Case can do, he's one of those guys that you could bring him in for the rest of a season and not have to. I mean, he's going to be able to not do what your number one guy did, but he's going to be able to pick up the offense. He's able to take the reins and lead a team to the playoffs that he wasn't supposed to do. And that's exactly what he did with Minnesota. Right. I've liked what he's done elsewhere. He's nobody's number one pick. Matt Flynn's another guy. Remember, not a lot of people realize this, but when Green Bay beat Pittsburgh in the Super Bowl that year, my gosh, wasn't Aaron Rodgers down for like 4 or 5 games?
Yeah, Matt Flynn, helped out a lot that season. Then when he got paid by Seattle, but then they drafted the rookie in the 4th round. Russell Wilson came and won that job in camp, so he really never got to do anything much after that.
But he was never a QB1. That's what I'm saying. Case Keenum's never going to be your QB1, but he's going to be your best QB2. Nick Foles is going to be your best QB2 in the league. So if there was a Pro Bowl, even let's take the Hall of Fame out of it. If there was a Pro Bowl spot for backup QB, I would say backups. Put one of those guys on that list, because
I agree. But hey, fellas, we're getting close, a little bit over an hour. So I have a little game for us to test you guys' knowledge about your franchise. It's to see what you know. It's this the know-it-all quiz about how much you know all about your franchise.
Oh, I feel the pressure.
It's pressure. So I'm going to. It would have been a team thing if our dude Foots the King had made it. It would have been you and Foots the King mod against Big G and Bad. But so since it is now, I'm gonna ask you the Cowboy questions, mod, and ask them one at a time the Steeler questions. Okay. So, but this one can go to all three of you. The Steelers and Cowboys have played a total of 32 games in the series, all-time series. What do you guys think the record is?
The Steelers lead by 1. The Steelers lead by 1.
Does this include, or are we including postseason in this?
We'll include postseason. That's all-time series. And it's a total of 33 games.
Then I'm going with Big G on that.
Steelers lead by 1. I think it's 22-21. I think the series, not 22-21.
It's been a total of 33 games.
33. So the Steelers is what? If you divide in half, 15 and 15, you add 3, 16. The Steelers is up 17-16.
Big G and Brian, you guys agree on that?
I'm going to go with that.
Mod?
I think the last time I saw this was on like Fox or something like that, and the Steelers were up 2 games. So I think y'all are up 3. If I'm thinking right, up 2 or up 3.
The all-time series lead is you guys are right on your answer, but the Cowboys are up 17-16. And the Steelers obviously 2-1 in the playoffs.
Oh, okay. See, all right.
Okay, so now this question is for you.
All right.
Name me the top 5 passing yards leader in Dallas Cowboy franchise history.
Woo! Oh, Tony Romo, Troy Aikman. I think Tony's first, Troy's second. Roger, Danny White. Roger Staubach, Danny White.
4 for 4. One more.
Gary Hugboom. Or if it's not Gary Hugboom, it's got to be, oh, man. Sheesh.
Think here and now.
Dak.
There you
Why
go.
am I tripping? I'm tripping. It's Dak.
Number 5. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. Wow,
Yeah.
you did really good. You named top 4 in order.
Hey man, Cowboy fan.
We'll see. Who wants the Steelers all-time passing yard leaders? Big G or Bad?
Man, you take it, man. You got it.
I got it. We've got Ben Roethlisberger number 1, Terry Bradshaw number 2. Actually, it may be Cordell number 3.
You're right. You're right.
Neil O'Donnell number 4.
4 for 4.
And let's say Bubby Brister number
5
5.
for 5.
There it is.
Bubby Brister.
Bubby Brister.
Oh, Bubby. Texas
5.
Tech.
That was impressive, man. Wow. Okay, Ma, we're gonna go with you. The Cowboys. Wait, hold on. Okay, yeah. The Cowboys' top 5 rushing leaders.
All right, so it's gonna go Emmitt Smith, of course, who's right here behind me. Definitely, we got Tony Dorsett, who would be next. We after Tony would have to be Herschel Walker. After Herschel, see, this is where it gets tricky because we've had some running backs that were decent, right? So, man, I don't know. Either I'm looking at Marion Barber and Jones. Those would be my.
It's a difficult one. I mean, you got the top 2 right. I don't think Herschel Walker is not in there. I don't think for number 3 you showed your current boy any respect. He's number 3.
Oh, Ezekiel Elliott, yes. I keep thinking about Ezekiel Elliott.
I'm not. Who is D Perkins? I don't know who that
Lost
is.
me on D Perkins.
But number 5 is Grant Hill's dad, Calvin Hill.
Calvin Hill. Okay, I'll give
Calvin Hill, the 5th all-time leading rusher in Dallas history. All right, Big Jim, we gonna give you the Steeler running backs.
Ooh, okay. The one I'm not for sure about is number 5, but I think I got the top 4 off the top of my head. I want to say Franco Harris number 1, Jerome Bettis number 2,
Ooh.
Fast Willie Parker number 3,
Whoa,
Le'Veon Bell number 4.
You're right, and you know what, Big G, I'm gonna give that to you. You got them all right because I cut number 5 off. I can't see who number 5 is.
Well, listen, I would think now there's 2 guys that I would pull up there. I would say John Henry Johnson or Barry Foster. But I would
say Barry Foster.
How close they are in yards, I don't know.
Right. No.
So, Bam, do you know?
Yeah, actually, let me jump in. I believe number 5 is John Henry Johnson. And I definitely know who number 6 is, and it's Frank Pollard.
Oh, yeah.
Frank Pollard. Wow.
So I think Barry Foster might be number 7, but I'm not for certain. I think John Henry Johnson is definitely number 5, though.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. You guys are really good. So last one is the receptions leader. Mod for the Cowboys, the top 5. Who you got?
Well, we know the playmaker. Michael Irvin. See, this is hard too because T.O. was there and he got some yardage for the Cowboys, but I don't know if I would put him there. So we got the playmaker, Michael Irvin. We definitely got my guy who just went into the Hall of Fame, Drew Pearson. Let's see here. Oh, gosh. And yardage. Man, see, this is hard. It's challenging.
No, I think that the question was actually receptions. Did I say yardage?
Well, if we say receptions, then T.O.'s got to be up there, and Dez Bryant's got to be up there.
Yeah.
So you got Dez Bryant, you got T.O., you got Drew Pearson, and you got Michael Irvin. Then you would have to have Jay Novacek in receptions.
Tony Hill's not up.
And then you would have to have Jason Witten in receptions.
Yeah, Jason Witten's up there, but Tony Hill's got to be somewhere.
Jason Witten is 1. Michael Irvin is 2. Drew Pearson is 3. This is not sorted right, but Drew Pearson is 3. It looks like 4 is Dez Bryant is 3. Drew Pearson is 4. and T only had 235 catches with the Dallas Cowboys. It looks like Bullet Bob Hayes is number 5.
I give Bullet Bob Hayes. I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah. Okay. That was you kind of got them all in there, Mod. All right. So
I can't believe Jay Novacek ain't in there, man. Novacek.
No, he wasn't in there.
Wow. He's Novacek, but I call him Novacek.
Yeah, but you know what? Back then, though, I mean, he was a solid option, but I mean, they weren't passing a lot. Like, I mean, those teams were leaning on Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin pretty much.
Right.
I mean, Novacek made a lot of big plays, but he's not on the all-time receptions list.
Wow.
Okay. Bad and Big G. The Steelers' all-time leader in receptions, top 5. You guys go back and forth 1 through 5 to see if you guys can get them together.
All right, Bad. I'm gonna go with 1, if that's okay with you.
You got it.
All right, Hines Ward.
One is right.
1,000 receptions on the dot.
On the dot.
So receptions and yards, they're a different story here. I know the top 5. I don't know if I know the order. I will definitely let's go with AB at number 2.
Mr. 3rd and 5th. You're absolutely right.
So,
hey, Big G, that's the nickname that they gave AB on the BTSC broadcast. They call him Mr.
I will actually say I have never signed off on Mr. 3rd and 5th, but that's what they all call. But I mean, he's still AB to me. I would not stop saying AB.
Yeah.
How about the Steelers record? Look at this. How about the Steelers record in Oakland? Man, oh my gosh!
Tell us, Juan. I don't know it, but I mean, the whole win baby thing's been dead for about 30 years now.
Yeah.
You know, Juan, he's definitely a dear friend to the podcast, man, and he is avid. If you can't tell, he's a Raider fan. I mean, I feel bad for him. I want to, I'll send out some chocolates and cards for him. I mean, definitely.
Can I jump in on the Raiders real quick? Just real quick.
Go ahead.
Do you know what the original name of the Oakland Raiders was supposed to be?
I don't.
This is 100% true. They were going to be the Oakland Seniors, and I'm not joking you. SENOR, and the press said, "Hey, look, we really don't even have that on our typeset. We can't put that little squiggly thing above the end."
Yeah.
So no, honest to goodness, almost the Oakland Seniors. Not as menacing as the Raiders.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been a horrible name. That would have been a horrible name.
We'll be on with Juan next week.
Yeah, definitely be on with Juan.
No, the week after. I'm sorry.
I'm definitely gonna bring that one up. The Oakland Seniors.
There you go.
But hey, Big G, Brian, number 3. Well, we just got a couple more. Number 3, all-time Steelers reception leaders. I'll give you a hint. You need a hint?
No, I think I got it. I think it's John Stallworth.
Oh, he's number 4.
So it's Heath Miller then. It's got
number 3. There you go.
Yeah.
And since you said number 4 bad, give us number 5.
Lewis.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not Lynn Swan. Lynn Swan, I think,
it's not
is
Lynn
6.
Swan.
I think Swan is 6.
Lynn Swan is 6. Lynn Swan is 6. You're right.
Lewis Lips is one of my all-time favorite Steelers, man.
That's a horrible name, though. Lewis Lips.
Man,
that's almost as bad as Dick Buckets. It's all the bad names. That's all the bad names.
The Steelers, when we went through that transition where we just totally dominated in the 70s, and then into that 80s transition, and we had Bubby Brister, and we were like, man, I don't know really what's going on. We were trying to decide what we were going to become defensively. Man, all of a sudden, here comes this wide receiver, Lewis Lips, man, that just to me was like, if he would have been on any team that had a fire quarterback, we would have been talking about him being on one of the all-time greats.
Oh.
Lewis Lips was a big-time pro, man.
Yeah.
Big time.
Great return man, too.
Oh, yeah.
And you had Rod Woodson replace Lewis Lips. Lewis Lips was a rookie in 84. Rod Woodson comes in 87 and becomes a return man. You had great return men, all-pro return men in the 1980s with Pittsburgh. People don't realize that.
You did.
So that's it for those questions. Now, I guess I just want to hear everybody's prediction about their team this year. What do you think the record will be? How far you think they can make it in the playoffs if they're going to make it to the playoffs?
Definitely. When we're talking about the Cowboys, man, I've said this, and it's my prediction. I told, and I actually bet Big G corner time. See, Brian, we have this thing in our family where we don't bet money, but we bet pride. And so if I lose, I have to stand in the corner, and I have to kind of show that on the show of me standing in the corner like a little kid. But 11 wins this year for the Cowboys. I think that we either win between 11 to 12 games this year. Definitely, I see us in the playoffs. I don't say that I can't say that we're a Super Bowl team just yet unless we just all the way click. But I see some similarities, and I was telling G this earlier. I could really see this team being the Colts, whether the 08 team where Edgerrin went off and had like 1,300 yards, and then there were 3 receivers with 1,000 yards. Man, I could really see that happening.
Man, if you guys are that Colts team with Brian Stokely, Marvin Harrison, and Reggie Wayne, y'all gonna win the Super Bowl. I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening.
I can see it happening, man. Dak was killing with a makeshift offensive line before he hurt himself. All he needed was some help, man. And I'm literally on defense. All he needed was some help. And if I see Dak Prescott anything like that, even halfway like that, with CeeDee Lamb, definitely with Amari Cooper and with Michael Gallup at full clip, man. Hey, and then you got Zeke back. Hey, if Zeke goes for anywhere between 12 to 1,300 yards, this is a Super Bowl contending team. Easy.
So they win the East. Yeah.
Oh, definitely win the East.
All right, Big G. We're gonna say bad for last.
Sure. All right. So I like the Steelers at around that 11-win mark. I could see between the 10-win and 11-win mark. However, I will say that we have the fight of our life to win the division this year. And I really do believe that if we win our division, we're going to dominate the division for the next 2-3 years, even as we transition from Roethlisberger coming out of the quarterback position into a new quarterback. Because Cleveland has stacked the deck. I mean, I don't know who I hate worse, the Cleveland Browns or the Baltimore Ravens. But I know but the Cleveland Browns have stacked the deck. And so for us to battle like we've never battled before, to actually prove that we're still the team of the NFC North, the AFC North, as you know, I'm really looking forward to this season. I'm just hoping that everybody stays healthy and we're able to push through. But I'm saying somewhere around that 11 wins, possibly tying for the division.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna give mine real quick, and I think that 11-win mark sounds really realistic. Sounds like a good number. If the over under was 10.5, I wouldn't know which way to go. So I'll say 11. I'll say 11-6. And Big G, you Sweet T, super hardcore diehard Browns fan, was texting me the other day talking about the Browns, and he said they was talking bad about us on a national publication, talking about the Steelers probably gonna finish last in the division. And I told him, I said, I guarantee we finish in the top 2. I don't know if we'll win the division, and I don't know who'll be first. So you and Baltimore fight out for first or second, while we're going to be one of the top 2 teams also. So I think 11-6. I think Ben has a solid season. If he does 33-10 this year, like he did last year with a running game, we'll be okay. I look for the defense to be even better. We lost Bud Dupree, but like Bad was saying earlier, you were saying earlier, Big G, we have our edge rushers are awesome.
Yeah.
TJ is probably the best in the league. Then you bring in a veteran like Melvin Ingram to go with Highsmith and those young guys, Roche and Jameer Jones. I like where we're going. In the linebacker room with Schobert and Devin Bush out there, I think the defense is going to be awesome. So I think the defense, if the offense plays like they're capable of playing, like you were saying earlier, we could be a 12-13 win team. But I'll go with 11-6 and let bad take it from there.
All right. So I'm looking at a few different things because this is the toughest road that they're going to go through since 2008. They had the toughest schedule, and so does Baltimore. Baltimore has a very tough schedule. It was the same in 2008 as it is now in 2021 when they had that horrendous schedule, but they still won the Super Bowl. Now, I expect the Pittsburgh Steelers to go to the Super Bowl, but I kind of see them going in as a wild card team. I could see two separate scenarios here. I still think they're playoff teams both ways. I could see them actually having a 9-8, 10-7 record, or everything clicking going 13-4.
Wow.
It all goes down to the offensive line, giving Ben time and giving Najee Harris holes. If they can do that, this could be a 13-4 team because it hinges on that offensive line. I think the defense is picking up where they left off. I think Ben is hungry, ready to go, ready to, like I said, chase that legacy, win it for the others, and get ready to get that white horse ready to roll out of town as the all-time legend. So I really think that's going to happen. I think there's another Super Bowl on this team. The window's shutting, but I really think that I can see a team hitting some tough stretches and going 9-8, but having a fight like they did in 2005 with that 8-game win, having to have an 8-game win streak. When Bill Cowher says, all right, we've got 4 one-game seasons here. And then that included the playoffs as well. So it was an 8-game streak. So that's kind of what I think is going to happen here. It's a cop-out to give you 2 records, but it just depends where the offensive line shakes out. I think they're better than 2008. So that's why I'm giving the nod to a possible 13-4, 12-5 year.
Well, y'all, it said that y'all have the hardest schedule in football. That's what it said. I mean, 5-7-4, and we got number 31. So we have an easier road. We definitely have an easier road.
That's your division. You got in the worst division in football history.
Come on, man. That division is going to be better. I keep telling you guys.
You got to be better than worse than NFL history. You got to be better than worse than NFL history, Ma.
Come on, man. I mean, come on. Don't act like y'all ain't had some down years in your division. It is what it is.
Baltimore is always tough.
We can't help it that Washington football team didn't have a quarterback. I could have got out there and been better at quarterback than what they had last year. And we can't.
And they won the division.
Listen, the defense was awesome. The defense was all work. Hey, if you can win a division and you don't have a quarterback that's good as Trent Dilfer, that's saying something. I mean, for real, Trent Dilfer was garbage. He was hot garbage. I mean, you light a dumpster on fire and collect the juice from it. That was Trent Dilfer. And they still won the Super Bowl. And I'm saying, when it comes down to it, Washington didn't have that. But this division will be better, man. So make no mistakes about it. NFCs will be better. And look, I just want to say, Brian, thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you for having spending this time with us on a Sunday. Make sure that you just give your shout out to the podcast.
Well, yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. And real quick, lots of respect for the Cowboys. I'm really anxious to watch them this year. And I know I made that crack about America's team, and I do apologize for that. But I really, Steelers and Cowboys throughout, so many decades now, they've always had this rivalry, even when they're in different divisions, and it's always going to be a thing, Steelers, Cowboys, and I love it. They're classic. As far as the podcast platform goes, like I mentioned, we're going to have 25 original shows every single week. And it's going to start off with our 5 a.m. shows, which is Let's Ride with senior editor Jeff Hartman on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We have Michael Beck and Dave Schofield doing the Live Mic and Stat Geek, respectively, at 5 a.m. And then on Saturdays at 5 a.m., it's going to be myself and KT Smith who you'll love his name. He also has a name on the website. He originally was known as Cliff Harris is still a punk, because going back to Super Bowl 10, and he's a winning high school coach, championship winning coach in New Jersey in the high school level, and he does the pregame show with me. But we're adding some great shows now for our 12 o'clock broadcast as well on the audio side only, which I'm really excited about. A lot of them are brand new. We're bringing some guys in, and we also are taking our YouTube shows that we still have, and we're running them on the audio side as well, with the other things that we do, like my Fact or Fiction show, we have something called the Steeler Rooting Guide. We have injury reports every 3 times a week. We have the Mike Tomlin press conference. We have the post-game show and the Mike Tomlin post-game press conference wrap-up too. So we have so much that we're going to be running. A lot of people laugh. They're like, hey, we don't want to listen to Mike Tomlin for 30 minutes straight, so we'll just listen to you on the recap and, and get the straight recap. So with that being said, thanks for letting me plug. You can check it out anywhere that you get your favorite audio shows. So if you have a favorite podcast platform, whether it be Apple, Google Play, Spotify, Luminary, anything, iHeart, it's on there. Just BTSC Radio, and we're there. Not just, we used to be called the one-stop shop for Pittsburgh Steelers. Now we're calling us the non-stop shop for Pittsburgh Steelers, and we're there all the time.
Love it. Thank you again, man, for coming on, and definitely until next week, we ought to know it alls, because we do know it all, and we'll holler at you guys later. If you like what you're hearing, make sure you like and subscribe, and check us out. On the flip side, we appreciate everybody for showing up and rapping with us. We're gone.